If I cancel this, does that cancel everything? Wait, I can't fully, okay, I can do that. Okay. Okay.
Whoops. Hey guys, CryptoDad here again. Thanks for joining me on the Saturday night live stream. Live from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about the news, we'll talk about altcoins, going to move some crypto around for you guys, and as always, I'll do my very best to get to your questions and see if we can't troubleshoot your problems here live. Well, tonight is a very special night. I've got a special guest, Jesse Hogbin from Caleb and Brown. He asked if he could share his insights with you guys, and I was more than happy. And I don't have guests on very often, so I thought I'd give you guys a treat tonight. He's going to give us a quick presentation about Caleb and Brown, and then I've got a few questions for him, and of course the rest of you can chime in and ask whatever questions you may have for Jesse. Let me quickly see who's here. Everyone looks like they're doing great. Let's see here. Can everyone hear me okay? That's the question. Okay. All right, let me get over to this. Yeah, things are kind of covered up for me tonight, but I'll get with... Oh, I see why. Okay. All right, I am going to headphone up, and we're going to go over to Jesse, and I'll monitor everybody from there. I'm going to switch mics here real quick. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, everyone on the stream says the sound is good. They can all hear me. And
Perfect.
Jesse, welcome. It's good to have you. I think
Likewise, thanks for having me, Rex.
Of course, yeah. I believe it's morning where you're at.
It is. It's 9 a.m. on Sunday, the 15th. So I'm ahead of you guys.
Can you give me any stock tips that I can, place since you're ahead of me in the future?
If only it was that easy, right?
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Everybody is here, and they're glad that you're here, welcoming. And I think they can hear both of us. So go ahead and start the presentation, and we'll go from there.
Beautiful. So nice meeting you all, guys, and appreciate Rex giving me the time to jump on here. I'm already sharing my screen, so can you confirm, Rex, if you guys can see the Caleb and Brown presentation?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect. So I'll have to just jump into it. I don't want to be too long, so be pretty quick and high level, and then I want to just keep it quite free-flowing, and then open up the floor to have any questions, from you guys that you might have. So to give you guys a bit of a quick understanding about who Caleb and Brown is, first things first is we're actually a brokerage, not your typical crypto exchange. So we're a full service brokerage. We've been around since 2016. So in the grand scheme of crypto businesses, we're actually quite established. What I can offer is, because we're a full service white glove brokerage, we cover everything from people wanting to dip their toes in crypto for the first time, whether you're a beginner, you're an amateur, or all the way through to if you're a seasoned veteran. You might have, a high net worth, you might have a lot of assets, but you might be time poor. All the way through to then just realizing that people really appreciate having someone that they can talk to. So we have taken the traditional business model that you might have received from, say, a brokerage, a stockbroker, things like that, and we've applied that to the crypto space because we found there was a lack of just genuine one-on-one connection when it came to buying and selling cryptocurrencies. So I have a couple of dot points here as well. Though, we offer an end-to-end white glove tailored service, and I'll break down what that means more in a second. And then we really put the human back in. So you're not going to be left to figuring out everything by yourself or left to your own devices. Going down a little bit further, a couple of key dot points here is, what is Caleb & Brown, and why would you say go with a company like us or put your assets with a brokerage like us? First and foremost, every client of ours who signs up gets allocated a dedicated broker. So this broker, they work with you. You can call them, you can email them, and they're sort of there to hold your hand throughout the entire crypto journey. Like I said, whether you're just beginning or if you're quite asset rich but time poor, and you just need to be able to call up Billy and be like, hey, Billy, can you sell XYZ for me? And he'll be like, perfect, I'll do everything for you. That's one aspect of our service. The other one that I love as well is the execution. Just because we're a brokerage, we're not limited to our own liquidity pool. Instead, we actually have access to multiple liquidity pools. So we get access from OCT partners, trading dexes, sexes and dexes. So in a volatile market, like you might see quite often in the crypto space, when old coins are pumping up and down quite drastically, we're able to fill our clients' orders essentially through a spread of different liquidity pools in order to minimize how much affect the market or how much sort of slippage or spreads are affecting your overall purchase price. Again, with us, we also prioritize a high emphasis on education. So we put a lot of time and resources into educating our clients. We provide weekly updates, inside the market deep dives, monthly analysis, and things like that to try and bring all of our clients up to speed with what's happening around the world, and just sort of help them best prepare for, say, the 2026 cycle. One of my favorite aspects, and I'll break this down a little bit further in a second for you guys as well, is the custody solution. So obviously, if you're a fan of the CryptoDad, he's all for self-custody, understanding the best wallets, understanding why they're the best wallets, and all just the best practices when it comes to self-custody or self-storage. So with us, we've also taken a similar approach. Unlike with other exchanges that keep all of their clients' assets together on cold wallets because it's easy to execute, that also allows it to be vulnerable to attacks, to human mismanagement, and if the brokerage or the exchange was to go down, like we've seen with FTX, they take all of your clients' assets with them. Whereas with us, we actually store all of our clients' assets in cold storage, backed one-to-one. So it's essentially just locked away in a vault, offline, can't be touched, until you're wanting to place a trade. And then we will then execute that trade for you, which is something that I love about the service that we offer here as well. Lastly but not least as well, with the way that we operate sort of deposits and withdrawals, there's no deposit or withdrawal limits. So if you've done really well in this space and you're sitting on maybe multiple six figures or seven figures, and you're wanting to pull all of that out, you can actually do that all in one go once you've done your security verifications. Unlike other places, and I personally have experienced this, where you might be restricted to $10,000 or $15,000 a day, and all of a sudden, if you're sitting on $500,000, that could take you a long time. And if you need to get it out, for one reason or another, that can actually become quite a problem. And a lot of people don't really think about that until it's too late or until you're in that position. So that's something else that I wanted to just highlight for you guys as well.
Yeah, I've actually run into that. Back in 2020, my dad wired me a bunch of money, and I was like, man, I need to buy some crypto. Well, as it turns out, there were limits on my bank account. I mean, I couldn't just buy 20 grand worth. I couldn't just go to Coinbase and buy 20 grand worth of Bitcoin because my bank had limits, and not to mention Coinbase's limits. So that's good that you pave all that, with your service. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And we find a lot of our high net worth clients really appreciate that aspect where they can move deposit or withdraw large sums, in one go, keeping things sort of swift and simple for them as well. And yeah, really open to answering more questions about this as well. I'll finish these slides and we can dive into a bit of a more open conversation.
Sure.
Touching on our footprint. So I'm in Melbourne, Australia. That's where our head office is in Melbourne, but we've recently opened an office in Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and we're all super excited about that. It's been up and running for the last couple of months. It's going really well, and we have plans to open a few more offices in the States. I can't quite say exactly where or when, but that is in the works. And you can also see there in small print, we're in the process of also opening up our service to the UK market, which is really exciting for all the Brits over there, as I'm sure there's a lot of them that would that are looking for a personalized brokerage service to sort of get exposure to the crypto market in. And here we get to the fun bit. So this is our custody. So if you guys are all, community members of Rex, I can imagine you guys might be quite familiar with Fireblocks potentially. So Fireblocks, if you haven't heard of them, they're one of the institutional leaders when it comes to providing custody. So they're a custody provider, not only for crypto businesses like Caleb and Brown, but they provide custody for institutions, I think for banks, for hedge funds. They have several $1 trillion in assets under management. So they're one of the industry leaders. So they're who we go through when it comes to custodying your assets or our clients' assets in cold storage. Like I said here, it's backed one-to-one offline in cold storage. So it just essentially sits there in a vault. We use a technology called MPC, or multi-party computation. And so that means, if you're familiar with how private and public keys work, when it comes to a private key, which is what you need to sort of have access to or ownership of the cold wallet on the blockchain, when it comes to the private key, that's split up into 3 shards. So one shard, or 1/3 of the shard, is sort of looked after by Caleb and Brown. Another third of the shard is managed by Fireblocks, and then the last third of the shard is managed by a third party that we don't disclose for security reasons, as you can imagine. And so in order for the funds to move, all 3 parties need to sign off on that transaction. And then there's obviously a lot of other levels of security. So it is the same type of security that you would get with your own wallet, with a Trezor, with a ledger. But it's just on an institutional level. So we have security checks, and something once we get chatting as well, I'd love to give you a couple of examples of when it comes to sort of withdrawing or just people moving their funds around, because there's a human touch there, there's a human connection. We're able to oversee that and be like, hey, you might be sending this to a malicious website, or this is a known scam that you've been tricked into sending money to. So while we're not going to stop you from sending your money, it's your money, you can deposit it, you can withdraw it whenever you want, as soon as you want. But we can give you, we can advise that, all of our brokers are very knowledgeable and they're very experienced in the space, and they can see a scam pretty quickly and identify even the most complex ones. And so we've been able to help a lot of our clients who initially thought this was a great opportunity where they were going to receive this crazy, 20% a month APY month on month. And we were able to say, hey, look, this is not legit. Unfortunately, the crypto space is riddled with sophisticated scams like this. And then they had no idea, and they were really appreciative of getting that foresight from their broker. So there's a lot of different nuances when it comes to sort of having an institution, or having, even part of your crypto with an institution like Caleb and Brown, knowing that it's not just all on you, that if you make one silly mistake, then all of a sudden everything is gone to the Ethernet. So that's also one thing that I want to touch on as well. And if any of you guys have any questions afterwards as well, please feel free to take down my email or email support, or if you just contact Rex and he can give you my email, and I'd love to sort of answer any questions or jump on a quick call if you guys are wanting to get a bit more of a guidance or helping set up or anything like that.
That's cool. Well, Hoosier Proud has already commented that a Caleb and Brown office in Indianapolis would be awesome.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if you know this out in Australia, but Hoosier is what we call Indianans down here. I was actually born in Indiana. they call us Hoosiers. So
Beautiful.
Hoosier Proud is here. All right, let me go over to this screen. Yeah, that one's looking good. So you can see both of us here. And like I said, it's really good to have you here with us, Jesse. I really appreciate you being
Thank
here.
you.
And I had a few questions for you. I think we talked a little bit about how your cold storage works, but maybe just go over that one more time and kind of say, you know, the process. Let's say I have one Bitcoin and I send it to
Yep.
you. What
Perfect.
happens to that Bitcoin once I hit transfer?
Of course. So in this stage, you've already signed up, you've KYC'd. So full disclosure, all of our clients are required to KYC or know your customer
Hmm.
due to regulations, obviously. Once you've signed up, you've deposited your funds and you have one Bitcoin. Now, that Bitcoin therefore goes into a cold wallet via Fireblocks. So it just sits there, locked away, and it essentially just sits there collecting dust until you want to either trade that Bitcoin to another crypto, you want to trade that Bitcoin into fiat like US dollars or Australian dollars, or you want to withdraw that Bitcoin. Now, when say if you place a trade and you say I want to sell half the Bitcoin into Ethereum, we actually use our own liquidity to execute that trade in real time. And then once that trade has gone through, then we update against essentially the books. So that's how we're able to still execute trades efficiently and quickly without risking risking our clients' assets of being hot online as you would potentially experience with other exchanges out there.
Yeah, I was actually wondering about that when you were talking about how you're able to smooth the trading process out. You sort
Yeah,
of do that with your own liquidity, and then when everything is done and all the trades are done,
then we
then
balance the books.
then you
Yeah,
can put the crypto in the cold storage where it belongs. So that's pretty good. That gives you kind of the best of both worlds. The freedom to trade and also the confidence knowing that your crypto is safe um,
yeah,
after
definitely.
you've made that trade.
Yeah, of course. And I want to make it clear as well that when we are fully in support of self-custody, we encourage self-custody actually as well. Like everyone that works at Calvin Brown, including myself, we have a mixture of our own like ledgers as well as having some of our assets. And me personally, I have some of my assets with Calvin Brown because it's just easier to trade. If something comes in, if there's a good opportunity, it's easier to click a couple of buttons and it's ready to go
Mm.
while not compromising on the integrity or the security of my assets, online, like it would be if it was with Binance or Coinbase, where it just sort
Mm.
of sits there in a hot wallet.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is the next question that I had for you, and it's what type of people are most common with you? I mean, are they all like jet setters, or is it a bunch
Absolutely
of
not. Absolutely
normal
not.
dudes like me?
So the large majority of our clients are just everyday mum and dads, people that either first dipping their toes in crypto or maybe have heard about it and wanted to experiment a little bit, but they don't actually necessarily know what they're doing. And it can be very, very daunting and very scary if you look at a complex spot interfacing screen like something that Binance might throw at you. And if you haven't grown up with the internet, it just looks really intimidating. And so a lot of our clients really appreciate our service because they can sit down, they can get on the phone, and they can talk to Andrew Garside, one of our senior brokers, and they can talk to a real human. And they can talk to him and be like, hey, I'm wanting to, send over or potentially invest X amount of money from my portfolio. And then Andrew can start to build a bit of a profile against them and be like, how long have you been in the space for? What are some of your expectations, for getting into this industry, how much you wanting to sort of allocate. And then they can sort of talk about your risk profile, your risk tolerance, and things like that. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, but, we can still get to know you and where you come from. So that's one end of the spectrum, which would be where sort of most of our clients are people that just appreciate that extra touch point, that the holding of the hand. But we also service people on the other end of the spectrum, like I was saying, that might be, crypto veterans. They might have a lot of assets and they might really appreciate our cold storage because they might have, 6 or 7 or 8 figures, as a lot of them do. And they appreciate that they can just sit it there, nothing happens to it, and they can be off doing their thing, working full-time or whatever it is that they do. But then when a trade needs to be placed, instead of having to do everything themselves, they can email or they can call, Sean might be one of their brokers, and they can be like, hey, Sean, please, can you, DCA or buy another, like full Bitcoin if it gets down to this price. And then Sean will be like, yep, perfect, leave it with me. And then he takes care of everything else.
Whoops. Okay. Sorry, I went to the wrong screen there. Yeah. So
That's okay.
I was going to ask about when people are. I mean, you covered that case right there. Well, you got somebody he's holding a bunch of crypto already, but
Yep.
I'm assuming that a person could just open an account with you, transfer some money in, and then deal with you without knowing anything about crypto at all, like Bitcoin addresses, transfers, anything, to do with that. And you guys just kind of put the front on it, right? They don't have to know what goes on in the guts of the blockchain or anything like that.
Of
So,
course, 100%.
what type of customers, or how do you deal with a customer like that? I'm assuming you can just buy Bitcoin for them and store it for them and all that stuff. So, talk about
Definitely, yeah.
that type of customer.
So we make it really easy. We make it essentially one of the easiest processes. So even if you guys, want to have a look around for yourself afterwards, and you can get a link, Rex's link. I'm not sure if it's in the description of the video or if it's in your YouTube bio, but essentially once you sign up, or even before you sign up, you can call up customer support. It's available 24/7, and talk to one of the lovely guys or girls there, and they're more than happy to sort of walk you through the process of whether it's signing up. So if it's the first step of how do I sign up, how do I create a profile, what does KYC mean, or what does know your customer mean, they can step you through and answer those questions for you. And then once you're up and once you're verified, you can play around. Again, it's completely free to sign up. It's completely free to create an account, to deposit funds, to talk to a broker or customer support. The only time where there is a fee is when you do a transaction. So if you deposit a Bitcoin and then you sell that Bitcoin into US dollars or into Ethereum, then there's a transaction fee associated with that. But that's our only fee out of the entire business model. So everything else is complimentary, as part of our service offering. So, people, we have a lot of, elderly people or parents or grandparents, uncles and aunties that have a little bit of capital that they want to play with. They've always heard about Bitcoin or XRP or Ethereum, but they didn't grow up with the internet. They're not naturally, speculative of what goes on in the crypto world. And so they're able to then just sign up, talk to someone, get them, get Cassie from customer support to help them sign up and, set everything up. And then once they're up and running, they can then talk to someone, be like, how do I send over, $1,000 from my bank account to Caleb and Brown? And then Cassie would be like, yep, you do this. So you go into your profile, and then you go, deposit funds, and then you click on this link, and they can really just break it down for you into digestible steps, you could say.
Yes, I've dealt with many people like that. Um, it's it's rewarding and it's challenging at the same time. I do one-on-one consulting, and sometimes
Of course, yeah.
just trying to get them to establish a Zoom session is difficult. You're like, I can't hear you. It's like you're starting from square one. But those are the types of people that I would say would probably fit your company, because crypto self-custody is not for everyone, and there are a lot
Exactly.
of technologically challenged people out there. And I did want to comment on something you brought up earlier. I have to say that I shamelessly put my affiliate link at the very top of the description down below this video. So anybody
Okay.
that wants to check out Caleb and Brown, I encourage you to use that link. And it's there. I'll probably put one in the first comment too after the live stream ends. So
Perfect. And even my
yeah.
email, like, I don't know if I can comment in the live chat now, but you're more than welcome, Rex, to put my email
Oh, sure,
in the
sure.
description of someone. for anyone, if they have any questions, sometimes people didn't really think of it on the spot, or they just want to ask privately one-on-one. And I'm more than happy to sort of, jump on a quick call with them or answer these questions. And I find people are really receptive to that, to be able to talk to a direct representative from Caleb and Brown, rather than just sort of, having to go back to a video or something like that.
Right, right. Yeah. So the big question on everyone's mind right now is about taxes. And
Of course, yeah, you guys are coming up to, is
yeah.
it April 15th? You have to file them
Yeah,
by?
that's our deadline here in the U.S.
Yep.
It's
Love
not
it.
a hard deadline. Learned over time that you can always miss the deadline. You just have to pay some penalties, and it's
Oh,
not that
really?
bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it was funny, the first time I figured it out, but yeah, but it's a big deal here in the U.S. Everybody's talking about it.
Of
So
course.
if someone simply deposits a large amount and does crypto trading with you guys over the course of a tax year, I know you're not tax accountants or tax consultants, but how
Correct.
can you make the tax time easier for them since you're basically handling all these transactions
Of,
for them?
of course. So correct. We're not an accountant, and we don't give tax or financial advice. Essentially, we just facilitate the service to buy, sell, and store cryptocurrency. Now, when it comes to tax time, we can give you the full transaction history of everything that you've done to make it easy to, I guess, fill in whatever tax forms you need and declare any financial gains, any financial losses. So that's pretty much the main one, that you can, get that full transaction receipt. Essentially, well, you're also referring to like the 1099. I hear that going around a lot recently with the
Mhm.
new legislation, that a
Yes.
lot of people are asking about as well. Yes, I'm assuming that was also implied in the question.
Do you guys issue one for proceeds?
Yeah, so being a regulated crypto body in the United States, we are required to issue the 1099 DA, similar to the 1099B that you might get for stocks. So that just means anytime that there's transactions, so you move around, there's capital gains or capital loss or a taxable event is executed, and then that just has to be recorded, which is sort of what's disclosed in the 1099
Hmm.
a DA, I think it is.
Right, right. That's good. I think that covers all of the. Oh no! Yes, I had this. I think we talked about this earlier through email. If it's possible, it would be great to hear you share a success story, maybe from a client you personally worked with who struggled with
Yep.
crypto but benefited from Caleb and Brown.
Of
So I
course,
was thought maybe you could give us
there's
a little personal touch.
it's definitely like, obviously I can't give names and figures, but
Sure, sure.
there's so many between people that just had no idea what they were doing. They just would have been so confused if they had to sign up to a Binance account. But I think the biggest thing where our value really comes in is with those additional security checks and verification methods that we go through whenever a client wants to withdraw, a sizable sum. So even I think it was last week. I kind of alluded to it before, but we had these people wanting to withdraw uh, sizable amounts of crypto to a platform that they were convinced would give them between 10 to 15% APY per month.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know how long you guys have been in the crypto space for, or how long you've been on this planet for, but that doesn't exist.
Right.
Nowhere does. Month on month on month for a couple of years, apparently, they were producing 10, 15 to up to 18% APY per month, or essentially ROI, which just isn't like, has to be made up. So we went through, we looked at the website, we even did a deep dive on the website, and it was very good. It was really sophisticated. They had a LinkedIn, they had a website, they had testimonials, they had human photos of the founders and their staff. So really, really convincing if you don't know what to look for, or if you're not naturally, very suspect of things like this on the internet. So even with that, we were able to inform people that wanted to send their money. They're like, "Hey, by the way, this is a scam. It's almost a verified scam with the way that they're acting, what they're promising." And it's most likely a Ponzi scheme where if they rob Paul to pay Peter, essentially. So even
Mm.
if you might be able to, or you've heard people that, oh, I put in 10,000, it went up to 30,000, and I pulled out 5,000. Maybe they might let you pull out 5,000 as a little taste, and that's what
Hmm.
you tell everyone. but that's because they took that 5,000 directly from someone else who deposited their money. And then eventually the whole thing is just going to implode and you're going to lose everything. So I feel like that story there, and then times that obviously by multitude, because we deal with these almost on the daily. People either, getting hacked or double checking, confirming with their broker if this website is legit or not. And we were able to save their, 5 figures because they realized that, oh, I was not aware. I thought it looked good. I believed what I read online. And then we were able to tell them that, no, that this is what you call a sophisticated scam. So I feel like that story in itself is just a testament where it's like, not necessarily holding themselves or holding their hand when they get set up and deposit, but just helping them retain their hard-earned crypto or their hard-earned funds. And so they're not just taken advantage of by a simple scam that people who are very experienced in the space can essentially, spot from a mile away.
Right. Yeah, that's really a good feeling. I have similar stuff like that where I'm doing a session with someone that thinks they've lost their crypto. And, I have them connect their device and we do an account scan and boom, it shows up. And that sound of them just going, oh, there it is, is just a great feeling.
I can only imagine.
Or with someone that doesn't lose money, that's also great. Yeah. So we've got some questions. And the first is a comment. Caleb and Brown, this is Hoosier Proud again. Caleb and Brown is easy to use and never need to worry about getting locked out of your account. I've been locked out a couple of times on Uphold and alike during market craziness. So he likes that. And then we've got A1 Rising is asking, is there a minimum amount that Caleb and Brown deals with?
Great question. So there's no minimum to open up an account and deposit. So you can send $10 if you want. There is a minimum for a transaction, and that is $500 if you were to go through the portal. So if you're going to do it yourself, the minimum is $500 USD. If you were to call up Andrew or Sean, the minimum is $2,000.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. Okay, this is from E. Poston from Colorado. What is your insurance protection in the cold wallet? Not my keys, not my crypto. I once had a Voyager account and it went through bankruptcy and it was a cold wallet, or at least they claim to be a cold wallet.
Okay, great question. And we get this a lot. So there is an insurance policy through proxy to Fireblocks, which means essentially everything is backed one-to-one. So if for some reason, Caleb and Brown was to become insolvent, touch wood, we've been here since 2016 and have a perfect track record. Our first order of priority would be to reimburse every single client exactly what they've deposited with us in the form of the crypto that they deposited that with us in. Now, there's a nuance there that I want to reiterate, because the reason why I say in the form of the crypto that you sent us to, so in short, what that means if Rex deposits 1 Bitcoin with us and it sits there, for a year or two, and then something happens to us, because the Bitcoin just sits there backed one-to-one, we can give Rex back that entire full Bitcoin, irrespective of whatever the price is. Now, the reason why that is so great and why I love and feel so confident, representing Caleb and Brown is because if you look at the classic example of FTX that went down in 2022, they went down, they took all of their clients' funds with them. My brother was involved. It was a whole mess. And it took a couple of years to start reimbursing everyone. But what they did is they reimbursed people in US dollars for the value of what their cryptocurrency was back in 2022. So, for example, and the numbers are rough but approximate, if Rex had 1 Bitcoin with FTX back in 2022, it might have been worth maybe $30,000, and they went down, they collapsed. A couple of years later, it's 2025, Bitcoin is at, say, $80,000. They would have given Rex $30,000 USD, which means he would have missed out on $50,000 worth of bull cycle gains because of the way that they legally can get away with reimbursing their clients, because they gave him what the Bitcoin was worth back in the bottom of the bear market, which is absolutely terrible. Whereas with us, if Rex has 1 Bitcoin and we would become insolvent, we would reimburse Rex that 1 Bitcoin. So it could be more, it could be less, but it's still the crypto. So you haven't actually lost the cryptocurrency itself.
Actually, I believe that's the same way Celsius did it too. I had some friends they had crypto in Celsius, but they were only able to get reimbursed, based on the price of Bitcoin at the time that it was deposited,
Yeah,
and they were only getting a small percentage,
that's
of what
terrible.
they had.
That's
So,
Yeah, that's terrible. And
yeah.
that's life-changing money for a lot of people.
Let's see. Let's see. It looks like if it's not a question for you. Oh, thanks, A1. Uh, he was thanking you for your answer, and the cat just
Thank
jumped on
you.
my screen.
Oh, because it
Yeah,
doesn't go on the keyboard and just deletes everything.
yeah. You never know with this cat.
Oh, they're
Let me
crazy.
give that. Let me
I
see.
can see it again.
Hang
Oh my
on.
goodness.
Oh, he's up here. I'm getting my cameras confused. There it is. Yeah. See, he's on the. See, kitties. Yeah, he's not exploring anymore. He's just on my lap. Let's go back. See, these are scenes that I don't use that often in my live stream. So yeah, I'm a little verklempt here. There we go. We're back. Yeah, BTC for BTC, good deal. Okay, that's A1. He thanked you for answering that question. I
You're
think
welcome.
this question is for me. How often do you get people asking you to help them set up hard wallets that a friend gave them? Happens to me a lot, drives me nuts. I guess that's more on me. Um, so if someone has a cold wallet, and let's say that they want to use Caleb and Brown simply for trading, and they say, okay, I would like to swap this Bitcoin for Ethereum, and then they transfer the Bitcoin to you into Ethereum, and then they withdraw the Ethereum right away. Is that pretty common, or is that kind of out there? That's not really taking advantage of your services the right way.
Do you mean, sorry, if you were to just deposit, swap it, and then withdraw it, or
Yeah. Drop. I say, I know you guys have great liquidity and you can make this market trade for me.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love your service, and I'm gonna send you a Bitcoin, swap it for Ethereum, and then I'm gonna go withdraw it as soon as it clears.
Of course. I mean, people use our services for a whole range of reasons. A lot of them use them for our custody solution because that's essentially free of charge. Like people just deposit large volumes of crypto, let it sit there for years on end until they're ready to move it. Or other people like the access that we do have access to multiple liquidity pools. So they deposit a Bitcoin in a highly volatile environment or time. They do a transaction knowing that it will go through. And then they withdraw it straight away. Again, that's perfectly fine. We're not here to tell you how to use our service. We just show you what we offer, and you can use whatever you want, whenever you want. And even like, as a testimonial as well, a couple of months ago, I can't remember when it was, we had that record-breaking liquidation event. I think like $1 billion was liquidated in a very short period of time. And I know a lot of the big exchanges ended up freezing accounts and temporarily going offline because they weren't able to keep up with the demand of the transaction volume going through. Whereas Caleb and Brown were able to stay fully online and operational throughout that entire time. And this was only a couple of months ago as well, where that big thing happened. So that in itself is a testament to sort of how it works so well when you can, fill 20% of an order from this pool, 20% of an order from this liquidity pool, 50% of an order from this liquidity pool, and then you can spread it out, throughout, multiple LPs.
Right. That was October 10th, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think something around then. Yeah, good memory.
Do you guys dabble in futures, that kind of stuff?
No, so at the moment it's just strictly spot crypto trading.
That's actually very good. That was a trick question.
Yeah,
No,
simple. If
no,
you keep it simple.
no, I'm glad. Yeah. So, sounds like a very good service for people that probably watch my channel. That a lot of people just come to watch my channel to learn, and they're still not quite sure of themselves. They may have watched several videos and owned a wallet and been working with that wallet, but they're never really totally confident using their crypto. And I've dealt with some people, and they're definitely, I mean, terrified. So those are the type of people that I would say probably a good thing to check out your service, maybe dip their toe a little bit, talk to one of you on the phone and just get that reassurance that, hey, you don't have to worry about pressing the wrong button here. We're here to take care of you, and whatever you ask us to do as far as swapping crypto or moving it here and there, you guys can handle all that for them.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, Jesse, I think I've put you through the ringer, and for 40 minutes.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I loved it. And
Yeah.
again, like I love to reiterate, if anyone has any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. Or, talk to Rex and he can give you my email, or even just sign up with the link there. Again, it's completely free to sign up. And then you get allocated a broker. You can talk to them or you can talk to customer support. You don't have to fund the account as well. You can just play around. You can chat to them. They can do a bit of a profile and be like, you can talk about how much you're wanting to invest, or if it's your first time and you just have a lot of questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question when it comes to crypto. You're so much more better off asking many silly questions than making a silly mistake. And I feel like Rex can testament to that as well.
That is for sure. Yeah. Well, I'll let you get on with your day, and I'll just run the stream out for the last 15 minutes doing Q&A. And I want to thank you again for being on here and being understanding about my lack of experience in this interview interface. I think we got your deck on there so everyone could see it. That was
okay. That's good. Yeah,
and I think and I'm making progress. I think they could hear both of us from the beginning, so that's a big step for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave you guys with it. I'll talk to you soon, Rex.
All right. You have a good night or day, Jesse.
Yeah, it's 9:40 a.m. So I'm gonna go get a coffee now.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
You too. All right. See ya. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. Whoops. Yeah, I got to bring myself back here. Yeah. I'm going to switch mics here. Back to this mic, and I can take these headphones off, and let me see how everybody's doing. Everyone can still hear me okay? So that was really nice of Jesse to come by, and I'm a little out of my element when I'm doing these interviews, because there's all these sound and camera issues, and I think I've got so many cameras and so many mics that I sometimes get a little confused. But I think we had the sound pretty good from the beginning. I remember when we had Laura on here a couple years back, the sound, when I brought her on, we were troubleshooting sound issues for a few minutes. So I appreciate everyone else's patience with me on that. It looks like we got all the questions answered. And Jim B is saying Celsius reimbursed him only part of the value, and it was only in BTC and ETH, so most of it was considered 100% capital gain and fully taxable. Yeah. A lot of people just got the short end of the stick with those. I know Celsius was one, Voyager was one. I think there was another one, FTX, of course. But I think there was another crypto custody firm that I did a video on them that also ended up going belly up. I did want to bring up a couple of things. As I mentioned, if you go down to the description of the live stream, you can see my affiliate link for Caleb and Brown if you guys want to check out Caleb and Brown. My Ledger landing page is still up. You can get $10 worth of Bitcoin. I heard a rumor, but I can't say for sure on pain of death, but Ledger has some Ledger has some good news coming in the next month or so. So keep an eye out for that. And any of these items that you get now would be $10 off, or you get a $10 Bitcoin rebate. I did a video on Trezor I usually go over the most latest videos that I've done. I did this one video about this fake balance when fake coins come in and you notice your portfolio balance go up by like 100 grand or whatever. Don't mess around with those tokens. You can easily hide them in Ledger Live, and that video did pretty good. And this is my Trezor comparison video. You should check that one out if you're interested in a Trezor device. I kind of go through the entire Trezor line and tell you whether or not you should upgrade or just stick with what you got. I try to be honest about this. If it were me, I'd have the latest and the greatest. But I did also want to, well, let's see. Tangem. Tangem is still running their sale where if you click my link, you'll get both of these pay codes applied and you'll get 20% off. And you can also get a $10 BTC reward. I think it says up to 20 in BTC. I think that means if you buy more than one card set, you can get, 2 Bitcoin rebates. And then, of course, Stampseed. Check out Stampseed. James called me or emailed me the other day and wanted me to put a testimonial on his site. So he'll implement that probably in the next month or so. I gave him a CryptoDad photo and a little testimonial. But what I wanted to, let me see if I think it's over in this browser. Yeah, these Trezor scam emails have really been exploding lately. I don't know why there's so many of them. Now, I have a pet peeve about the Ledger where people blame Ledger's data leak back in 2020 for every scam email that they get from Ledger. But Trezor, it's not so much that they know who you are. It's that there are many tools out there that can target people, analysis tools. And there are lots of databases out there where you can buy personal profiles legitimately and use those to target people with scam emails or scam letters. You couple that with dark web and data breaches, and it's pretty much easy to target anybody anywhere. So these Trezor emails have been exploding lately, and they have nothing to do with a data leak from Trezor. Let's see. I've got one in my CryptoDad email, and I've got this other one in my personal email. You just cannot trust any email that comes in from. If you get an email from Trezor, you'll know because they're just marketing emails, talking about their products and services. But these kind of emails, you just click and check who it's from. This is not a Trezor domain. And then this other one over here. We can go here. It's a completely different domain, but it's definitely not Trezor. And the end result of all of these is they want you to click this button, and it's going to take you to a website where it might look like it's launching the Trezor suite, but will eventually ask you for your backup phrase. So be very wary of any of these emails that come through trying to convince you that it's from Trezor. And, it's a different grift each time. You'll notice this one is saying that there's some sort of intelligence threat. This one here is a critical security announcement. They all come in different flavors, but the end result is the same, is that you're gonna follow that link, and it's eventually going to ask you for your backup phrase. So please don't click on any links inside emails. If you launch Trezor Suite, your Trezor software, there will be update announcements within Trezor software. Those are legitimate because they're occurring right within Trezor. And they'll say things like, hey, there's a new version of Trezor Suite, or there's a firmware update available. But there'll never be emails like this where they're going to ask you to click a link. If it was from Trezor, they would say launch your Trezor suite and do the latest update. Let me see here. I'm gonna go. I've got a little interesting comment here, so I want to read this out. Had a young kid come into my shop with his seed phrase on a metal plate around his neck, showing it to everybody. I asked them if they could take a picture, if I could take a picture, and he said yes. Yeah, that's really weird. Wondering if was his legitimate seed phrase or just a faux seed phrase. There was kind of a controversy a few years back about people wearing their Ledger wallet on a chain around their neck, that was somehow insecure or flaunting or whatever they were saying it was about. And there are people that are into crypto. A lot of people in my comments are very paranoid, or guarded about anyone knowing that they have crypto or that they bought a hardware device, and they're very suspicious. Like they'll be mad if I wish Ledger, or I wish that Tangem didn't have their logo on the Tangem ring, because people will know it's a crypto ring. And, the Tangem ring has the logo on the inside of the ring. So, I mean, if you're wearing it, I don't think a mugger is going to know what it is. But, there are people that wear Rolex watches that are worth, 20 grand or whatever, or jewelry, gold chains, that, the idea here is that people flaunt their wealth quite a bit, and it's just that you have to be in a safe environment. So I don't mind carrying around my Ledger device or my Tangem card, and I can work with it in a coffee shop. That's fine with me. I took a couple of my Ledgers with me when I went to Paris. Of course, I don't carry my whole bag with me when I carry a Ledger around. I will usually get a Ledger that's got less on it than my entire bag. Of course, that would mean having more than one device, but that's kind of my precaution. So, I mean, if you're going to do crypto on the go, and you want to be on the go and, make trades or whatever, then you should have a working wallet, right? And keep your long-term storage at home. I wouldn't carry around all of my crypto on a Ledger. It would just be a little too conspicuous for me. Yeah, the kid had no clue. A lot of folks don't realize the seed phrase can be imported into a new wallet if you lose it. Yeah, that's a good point there. I think you're right. A lot of people don't understand how vulnerable that seed phrase is, and scammers play on that. Like these emails that I was talking about earlier, they will talk about the seed phrase as if it's some sort of verification. Like, we can't continue until you verified your wallet. And until you verified your wallet, we can't help you. And there's this security issue. They don't really say, hey, this is your crypto backup, a backup of your private key. They make it sound like it's some sort of troubleshooting thing, and they're just playing on the fact that people don't understand exactly what that seed phrase is. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. That I want to say ignorant, but I just did, didn't I? It's pretty ignorant to walk around with a seed phrase around your neck. Yeah. That's and Dan points out that there's no crypto on the Ledger itself, right? You're not carrying around the crypto with you. You're basically just carrying around an access key to the crypto that is being managed by the device. But in the case of, I have a Ledger that I keep at home that's got, my go to crypto on it. And if I want to mess around with crypto on the go, I usually take my Tangem. My Tangem, I've got several Tangem card sets, but like I have a working Tangem card that's got, a reasonable amount of crypto on there that I can use on the go if I need to. Yeah. Let's see. There's no crypto on the cryptos on the Dan. It's 100%. That's so funny, Andrea. So thank you guys for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. It seems like we got a few new people. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from Jesse. HR by Catherine. I'm in New York. I was on your site a couple years ago, and because I'm in New York, wasn't able to set up that account. Oh, Catherine, I missed the question. I will shoot your question over to Jesse and ask him if people in New York can use your service. I know New York is really picky. I don't know if you can use Coinbase in New York, but for a while there you couldn't. I think the only, back in like 2019, the only crypto exchange that was available in New York was Genesis, if I'm not mistaken, maybe some others, but I remember dealing with a lot of people that weren't able to access Binance or Bitcoin or anything, or Binance or Coinbase when living in New York. So I know New York is pretty strict down there. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever emailed me, Catherine. I don't remember if you have or not. I'll check. If not, I'll get an answer to your question, and I'll give it to you next week when you're here. You're becoming quite a regular, and it's always nice to see you here, Catherine. Andrea, it was good having you here, and I hope you got your... That's so funny. And then I wanted to thank Hoosier that came in. Is it true that passphrases are not stored on hardware wallets? Yes. Walu, he's asking a question about passphrases. A passphrase is an additional, it's sort of like a password on your crypto wallet, but it's called a passphrase because it works in conjunction with the configuration of your device. So in other words, if you have a ledger device that's in a particular configuration and it has a 24-word seed phrase, it has accounts associated with that. But if you add a passphrase on top of that, in other words, you enter the passphrase into the device. That's how it works on a ledger. There's a completely new configuration created on the device where you can set up accounts. And that is not stored in the hardware device. It's done on the fly. Now, it's, in the circuitry once you've entered it, and there is a way to set up an alternate PIN on your device by storing the passphrase in the device. But in general, if you've set up a passphrase, you sort of keep it separate, either memorize it or have it written down somewhere where you won't lose it and no one will find it. And then you can use that passphrase to get into the hidden configuration of the passphrase configuration. The nice thing about using a passphrase is that if someone were to discover your 24-word seed phrase, they wouldn't have access to that passphrase configuration. And a lot of people will have a sort of dummy account or a small amount of crypto in their main configuration, and then they put the bulk of their crypto in the passphrase configuration. So if someone were to steal the seed phrase and restore it onto their own wallet, they wouldn't have access to the passphrase configuration. And of course, your Opsec would be to hide the passphrase and the seed phrase in two different places, right? You don't want to have a piece of paper with the passphrase and the seed phrase on there. You keep those two separate. Coinbase, Robinhood, Bitstamp, and Gemini are available in New York. Okay. And I Trust Capital too. Thank you, Fred. Appreciate that. Let's see. And, oh, by the way, Walu, thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate that. I hope I answered your question to your satisfaction. If I didn't quite understand what you were asking, shoot me an email at thecryptodad@gmail.com, and I can cover this in a little more detail. If you're curious about how passphrases work, I have several videos where I demonstrate how to use passphrases with ledger devices on the Nano X and the Flex and Stack. So you could check those out. Yeah, we jumped forward. It's been a week now, hasn't it, since we jumped forward? It gets real. It's like pitch black when we're taking the kids to school in the morning now. Yeah. Yeah, we're jumping ahead. And I think that Europe is like either a week or 2 weeks ahead of us or behind us when we change our clocks. I know they do in France. I know that I was dealing with my ledger rep in France, and we had like that. There was that discombobulation for about a week, and then they did theirs, and then we were back, in sync again. We're not on the same time, but normally I believe it's a 6-hour difference between here and at least Eastern time in Paris. So, yeah, it's crazy how this time thing works. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I know I didn't get a chance to move crypto much, but I did want to have Jesse on, and it was fun having him on. Christopher Tane from Melbourne is here. You missed Jesse from Australia. I think he said they're in Perth. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, sorry that you were late, but it's good to have you in at the end anyway. And I think that's it. I think I've covered all the questions in the chat. Thank you, Dan, so much for being here and moderating. Thank you, Kenny, so much for the news. As always, I always appreciate you. Thank you, everyone that came in and sat and watched with us. Thank you for all your questions. If I didn't get to any of your questions, please shoot me an email at thecryptodad@gmail.com. My email's down at the bottom of the description. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Yeah. Don't forget, we do this every Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join me again for the live stream from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin. We'll talk about the news. We'll talk about altcoins. And I hope to see you there. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click that will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me and hope to see you again soon.